brothers. We're happy and we're singing and we're colored. Give me a high five.
Man, that's like the
What?
best ever, dog. I was singing that whole thing, dog.
I love it.
Great, great intro. I love it.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, here with my brothers from another mother's, Big Game James and my guy George Carmi, and we here to talk some NFC. We got some fire camp stories,
Yes.
but we're gonna sit by the fire camp and tell our stories about our training camp. That sounded so much better in my head. But James, George, how y'all boys been, man? How y'all been?
Good, man. Can't complain. Looking forward to it. Football's coming on this weekend, boys. Training camp, joint practices on Thursday. Looking pretty good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I love shout out to Desmond Iron. You love that intro. That intro is fire. That intro is fire. I was saying it. Give me a high five. I mean, can't really touch that.
You can't.
But just like I said, just like George just said, we just had the Hall of Fame game. Obviously, our preseason games are getting ready to come up for each one of our squads very soon. So it's finally here. It's enough of the talk. It's enough of the predictions. It's enough of the analytics, or whatever you want to call them. All that good stuff. It's enough of the talk. Now it's really time for us to really get down and dirty and see what these teams is really about.
Yeah, that kind of skipped for me. My bad. But can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I know. I was like
My
Matrix.
Joe,
Yeah, just like skip for me real quick. I'm still here. Now, but I mean, enough talk for them, right? But at the end of the day, that's all we really got right now. We still got to talk. So today we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about these teams. We're gonna talk about what we've seen with these training camps, what we've seen, with these players, and we're also going to open the floor. So also that opens the floor to you in the chat. If you guys have questions about other teams, if you have question about your own team, obviously ask in the chat. But it's going to be kind of an open forum of us just kind of telling each other what we know, because I want to know what's going on in Washington. I want to know what's going on in Dallas. So I guess the easiest way to start it is I'll start with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles are probably the front runners. A lot of people are thinking that, they got a really good chance to do something special. A lot of people are thinking that they might fall on their face. I was getting to you.
I'm allowed to jump in. It's special.
I think we could. I think we could. I think we could be
y'all got
something
the big.
special.
Y'all got a lot of. That's cool. Okay, I'm gonna be quiet.
I think we could. There's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of question marks.
George believes it. George believes what I believe.
I do not at all. I'm good.
No special.
Y'all gonna jump on the train soon enough. Y'all gonna jump on the train soon enough.
Y'all have nothing special is going on.
We have the squad. We definitely have the squad in place to be good. I will say there are question marks. There are definite question marks. How are these offensive coordinators? How's the offensive coordinator? Y'all know him very well. How is he going to gel with Jalen Hurts? How is that offense going to work? Is he going to be able to dumb it down like a lot of people have been saying to me? Defensively is probably my biggest question mark. I'm going to be real with you. I think that almost anybody could come into this offense and run it not proficiently, but well. You're going to get something out of this offense. It's up to you how much you're going to get out. And I think that last year was a good example of that. If you look at last year, I felt like our offensive coordinator really wasn't giving us much. Maybe it was Nick. We'll see, what happens this year. But our offensive coordinator and game plan just wasn't there. And you still won a lot of games, and you still were able to put up a lot of points. I think that the players have been saying at this training camp, and I think a lot of people tend to agree, we had talent last year. We just didn't necessarily have a direction. We didn't necessarily know what we were doing. So I think that's scary. I think that if you're able to go out there and put it together, obviously that's a if. It's going to be scary on offense, and I just have more faith in this offense than the defense. I think that the defense, if you look at, and this is where, it gets spicy. This is probably the bad right now. But if you look at what a lot of Vic Fangio has been saying, and this could be me, and I would love for any Eagles fan in the comments or anybody that's heard it to tell me I'm bugging here, but it sounds like he's setting himself up for excuses. A lot of the stuff that he's saying, I've heard him say, I don't know if Bryce Huff is ready to do what I need him to do. And in a paraphrase, right? He said, you're not going to have a good defense without a good inside linebacker. Now, these are all just random quotes, but you keep on throwing all this stuff out that you're kind of downplaying what you have at certain positions that we know we're not the strongest at. But what are you really saying? You know what I'm saying? What are you really saying right now? We've seen that the defense hasn't performed that well during training camp, but has it been that the offense has been doing very well? That's, the beauty of training camp. I'm waiting to see what they do against other teams. But it's kind of a little bit like, all right, offensively, I feel like no matter what, you're going to get something out of them. What you get is up to you, like I said. But defensively, it sounds a lot of like, well, we don't really have this. Like, okay. Like, what about what you have? What do you like? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Again, maybe I'm just kind of picking out something negative to be negative about, but I do worry about this defense. You look at safety, I don't think that we've really solidified what's going to be happening behind Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Cornerback, again, Jalen Hurts has had a really good camp. Has he had just a really good camp, or have these defensive, backs not been playing that well? We've seen a lot of Eli Ricks. We've seen a lot of Kaylee Ringo. We've seen a lot of these young guys. What does that say about Darius Slay? What does that say about James Bradbury, who's taken a lot of snaps at safety? So a lot of positives that these guys are team players and saying, hey, I'm willing to play wherever. I love that. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. I feel like there's just a little bit more going on than meets the eye. So I'm excited to see this defense against other people. I'm excited to see what this defense can do. But ugly-wise, I don't think there's much ugly, if I'm being honest. I don't think there's much like ugly. I think right now it's kind of maybe too early for ugly, maybe in all our situations. But I don't know. I think that is going to be really interesting. I think this year is going to be really fun. It's going to be really interesting, though. We have to put everything together, but I think talent at the end of the day is going to win us a lot of games. If we have good coaching, we could win a lot of games in the playoffs as well. So that's where I'm at. Again, maybe it's too early for ugly, but nothing's really stuck out to me. You know what I'm saying? No contract situations or anything like that.
So that's interesting. So coming out of Eagles camp, the defense doesn't look good, is what you're saying, right?
It doesn't sound like it is. It's but again, I don't want to be the guy sitting here saying like, "Oh, this defense sucks." I haven't been at the training camps. You know what I'm saying? I've seen the videos. I've been one of those guys that stat tracks every tweet. I feel like a lot of us have done that. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things that you hear that Jalen Hurts is doing so well. Almost every other tweet is about how AJ Brown took advantage of this cornerback. Kenyon Mitchell has looked good, but there's been a lot of tweets about, him getting taken advantage of by Devontae Smith, though. So these guys are good. So it's kind of one of those, let's see him against other people. You know what I mean?
And what's the latest on Cooper DeJean? I know he was I liked him a lot coming out of the draft. I thought he's a very diverse defensive back coming out of Iowa. I heard, isn't he injured? Or what happened with him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, like right before everything like really got going, he got trained out. He got injured while training outside of the camp and everything. So I think he's gone for 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, and he could start the season on PUP. And he could, because it wasn't an injury within the facilities or anything like that, so he could come right back first week. But I don't think he's going to be doing anything as far as the training camps or any of the preseasons go. So that's a big blow. That is a big blow. And that was really why now I have such a big question behind Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, because it's like you had a guy like Cooper DeJean that can kind of fill in that role early. He can kind of be a jack of all trades in that secondary. You lose him, that opens up the possibility for other guys to kind of show out, because there has been good news about this defense. People have looked good. It just hasn't been at the rate that you're like, because usually, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, usually I'm used to the defense being a little ahead of the offense.
I was going to say it's supposed to be at that point, right? Because in defense, you're more reactive. You're playing cover 2, cover 3, kind of basic shells right now in training camp, and the offenses are putting plays into action. So, to be honest with you, it's kind of a red flag, man. If the defense is already kind of not looking too good, I'm kind of worried about that over there. It's interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I mean, I don't know special. Like I like.
He had to go back to that.
He's all back on that.
You said something special. I'm special. I don't see special. Good talent. Yes, definitely have a lot of talent over there. Got a lot of good free agents and talent. But I keep on going back to this coordinator thing. Um, these are 2 first-year guys. Um, we're going to see how it really does mesh. And I think that's a huge question mark. And I think Sirianni, even though he's been to the playoffs, has a winning record in the playoffs. I think there's a lot of questions about him now, and how this season really unfolds is critical, because you had the darling season of the Super Bowl, and then I don't care what anybody says, Philadelphia Eagles fans can act like it don't exist, but that losing streak at the end of the year is still in the taste mouths. And so if it comes out early and you start losing early, there's going to be a lot of noise out there. So this is critical. I feel like how this offense runs with Jalen Hurts, how Saquon Barkley meshes with this offense. Um, just like you were talking, Nakobe Dean, we talked about him. I heard Vic Fangio say some good things about him. Now you want to see what the Jalen Carters, the Nolan Carrolls, just like you said, Ringo, you want to see what the young guys are going to do, because I feel like you guys are heavily based on young guys now, because a lot of your veterans are gone and, retired. And now it's really relying on that. And you got a new coordinator. So it's going to be interesting to see, especially, with Cooper DeJean, as you mentioned that. I want to see how Mitchell plays. And it's the cornerbacks are longer in the tooth. That's the reality.
I was one of the first ones on Quinyon. I loved Quinyon before Senior Bowl, before he blew up. I was so surprised he came to Philly. I was happy.
We're gonna see, because he's a player. I mean, me and you both said, so I'm not doubting he's not a player. But you're gonna come in that NFC East and you got some dogs in there, and that Malik Neighbors. I gotta give them Giants credit. He does look good. I've seen the highlights of him. You get any kind of quarterback and decent, he gonna turn up. They still got Jalen Hyde over there. So, I'm gonna tell you right now, Giants, if they get a quarterback over there, in Giant land.
You ever see that meme where the Ferrari is sitting in that like really beat up house where it's like this nasty and it's like, what team is this? That's Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors on the Giants. Yeah, it is right there.
That definitely is. I want to defend my statement with special, because I do think that, again, you look at last year and you bring up the losing streak. I think that honestly cements my opinion, just because we had talent last year, and that's the only thing that won us games. Because we were the same team and you, James, you were one of the main. My dog wants to go out right now. Yeah, my dog wants to go out. He sees my girl leaving. But no, you were one of the main ones, James. You were one of the main ones saying, bringing up after every win. But you guys looked kind of sus through that whole win, and it caught up to us. So throughout the year, we were the same team. We were just losing games at the end. So we were barely winning games, and it was because of our talent. So I can sit here and say that I do think that this team can be special if everything kind of clicks together, if that coaching now can kind of feed that talent and elevate it just a little bit. I think that's where we are. If the team, because I asked this on my Twitter, I said, is the Eagles season a Super Bowl or bust? And it feels like that, even though you have new coordinators, and for a lot of teams that would be an excuse. It really feels like the Eagles were a lot of dumb mistakes away from being a Super Bowl contender again last year. I feel like we made a lot of dumb mistakes, a lot of hence type of, just like a lot of like in haste, I should say, type of decisions, from firing Sean Desai, from, moving this guy there. It was just so much random stuff. They were just trying to put out so many fires, and it just didn't feel like anything clicked. So I feel like if this year they can figure it out and get all that outside stuff on the outside, I think it's very plausible for the Eagles to be a special team this year, especially offensively.
So first of all, Thurston's my boy. I see him in the chat. He says he's a Bentley parked in the Section 8 housing, talking about Malik Neighbors. That's exactly right there.
Facts.
Two, I think you're right, Joe. I think it is all about coaching, man. I think the Eagles do have talent. I'm as a Commanders fan, as a Commanders content creator, Saquon going to Philadelphia is very intriguing to me. I think he could either blow up or he could be a poor fit and kind of mess up the flow of the offense. Realistically, I think he can be very, very good. I'm just like, I just don't know how they're going to incorporate Daniels and Barkley at the same time, because they're kind of like that short yardage back. What are they going to do in regard to that? Are they still going to do a tush push? Are they still going to do Jalen Hurts, RPO, and all that? I do think the Eagles' offense looks pretty good on paper. I'm curious about your offensive line, like losing Kelsey. They're getting a little bit older as well. The offensive line is something that I'm kind of intrigued about. But yeah, going into the draft, the cornerbacks are a big worry. I think Darius Slay is a good player, but you tell me, you're right there more on. Are those guys getting older? Is Bradbury getting older? Is Slay getting older? Do you find them washed? Are they still in their prime? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, Darius Slay hasn't gotten older since he turned 21. Actually, they all definitely are kind of losing a step. But Darius Slay looked good last year. Darius Slay, I think that there was a lot of times where he got beaten, but as a cornerback, there's a lot of times you're going to get beaten. Was he a top 5 cornerback, top 10 quarterback? Probably not. But he wasn't a terrible player. I think he got a lot of flack for the overall, lack of talent that our secondary had. I think he got a lot of the brunt of it because he was the superstar. But James Bradbury was a pinata last year. He really was, whether it be the fans or other players. People were just beating him up all year. Again, whether it's on social media or on the field, he just did not have a good year. But all respect to him. And I think that this gave a lot more Eagles fans more respect for James Bradbury when he came out in his, press conference and said, I didn't have a good year last year. I'm surprised I'm here. They're giving me another chance to play a different position. I want to do that. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to play cornerback, but, he wants to extend his career. So that gives me a pause. That gives me to be like, okay, it wasn't one of those like, oh, I'm just here for a check type of things, which we've seen with athletes at the end of their career. So I think that James Bradbury is going to be an interesting player at safety. I don't think he's somebody you can rely on. You know what I'm saying? So you're in that mode where, like I said, you're seeing Eli Ricks, you're seeing Kaylee Ringo, you're seeing Quinyon Mitchell start to get these snaps. So you got to hope that one of these young guys kind of pans out, or maybe an Isaiah Rodgers, somebody that's a little bit longer in the tooth in the game. At least he's still a young player, but you got a lot of guys in that secondary that are going to fight for that number 2 position. But I do think Darius Slay is going to be our number 1 until further notice, until somebody, decedes him. He's not going to lose his job, kind of like a James Bradbury kind of has. We went into this season saying James Bradbury is not going to be our starter. Like that's not a question mark. That's not a debate. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But yeah, I would say that James Bradbury, to answer your question, to long story short, James Bradbury, I think you are seeing the effects of his age way more than you are with the Darius Slay. I think Darius Slay got another good year in him.
Got it.
Well, once again, for me, I don't see special. No hate. I'm not even hating either. Like a couple years ago when y'all traded for AJ Brown, I mean, it felt like, okay, this team gonna be really good. Like, even though people didn't want to admit it, at least us Cowboys, we don't want to admit that. We don't want to say that. You feel me? But it was like, damn, this team might be really good, and it happened. You know what I'm saying? Y'all had that special type of season. Y'all went to the Super Bowl. Y'all had a special type season. I felt like, I said, let's see this year. Remember, I kept telling you, let's see. I gotta see back to back. It's gonna be tougher to repeat when you go to the Super Bowl. People are gonna be gunning for you now. It's gonna get a little bit tighter, and it did. And, we talked all year. I said, you win these games, but bitch, I feel like it's gonna catch up, and it did. And so now I think this is just a season of questions. Definitely, like I said, team has talent across the board, offense, defense, but I still feel like the secondary is a question mark still. I think they are still longer in the tooth. It's a question mark with Mitchell. He did even though we know he's a player, still playing a smaller school. You want to see him playing in that competition. The safety position, like I said, you talked about your linebackers. Are they going to be able to step up? Are they going to be able to be healthy? I think health is a key for your team as well. I just really want to see how Jalen Hurts really meshes with Kellen Moore, and see how that dynamic really works. And I think that is a big question mark because training camp is one thing, games are another. So it's just going to be interesting seeing. I just feel like it's question mark. So even if it turns out good, I still don't know if it'll be special, but it'll be a really good team. I mean, you could get 10 to 12 wins on the talent.
Hey,
That's
we win a Super Bowl, be special for me. When we win the Super Bowl, be special.
I don't think
me,
so. I don't see a Super Bowl.
I'll end it with this. Because I see a lot of people, unless y'all got any more questions, but I see a lot of people in the comments, Cowboys fans in specific, saying about Kellen Moore this, Kellen Moore that. It will give me the highest pleasure to win a couple playoff games with Kellen Moore. I don't even care about the guy. I'm going to be real with you. I really don't care how he runs his offense as long as he doesn't ruin it. But it will give me the highest honor of pleasure to come on here and be like, "Oh, look at that! Look, yeah, y'all should have looked at this offensive coordinator over here. He's pretty darn good." So if we are top 5 in offense, I will be unbearable to
Why be
Cowboys.
unbearable? I
Let me
mean,
know.
Kellen Moore is not a terrible coordinator. I
I
mean,
don't know the way
this.
people making it sound. The people
Well,
way
here's the thing. From me, I've never said he was a terrible coordinator. If you look at the numbers show he was never a terrible coordinator in Dallas. He always had top offenses, top 5 offenses, top 10 offenses. His whole time in Dallas, he almost had two 1,000 yard rushers. You saw the numbers with the receiving. They both, I believe, had 1,000 yards. I mean, and Michael Gallup had like 800. So it's never been, people just get frustrated with certain things with Kellen Moore. I get it. I just feel like the match after a while just had to go. But I never dogged Kellen Moore and said he's a terrible coordinator. I never said that. It's just that, you want to just see how Jalen Hurts likes to run. Dak Prescott really didn't. Um, Kellen Moore really likes to throw the ball, you know, and, Jalen Hurts has that dynamic of running. So that's what I'm interested. The RPOs, does that happen? Because that's not what Kellen Moore really did. So you wonder, is that going to be something taken away from the offense? And then just what George said with Barkley, it could be boom or bust. It could be really good, or it could be really bad. Not to the bad of the DeMarco Murray bad, but it could be a bad fit. Just what you're talking about, the dynamic between Jalen Hurts and just Saquon Barkley, because Jalen Hurts does have that element of running, and he kind of, not saying he needs to run, but it's kind of like his kind of game. You get what I'm saying? Like that's
yeah.
in his game. So as a coordinator, you got to figure out how to incorporate that, because I feel like that's part of his game.
It does, like, from a third party, it does feel like the Eagles are like kind of on the brink, right? It's either they're going to be really, really good or they're going to fall apart. I feel like I would love it. I told you before, I would love it if Sirianni gets fired by the end of the year. I hate Sirianni so much, man. I think he just talks way too much. So we'll see how that goes down, but we'll see what's up.
Yeah, and I want Desmond Iron Man to be here when we are top 5 in offense and winning playoff games. That's all that matters to me. So that was my rant. You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm feeling about these Eagles right now. If you guys have anything in the comments, I'll get to them later or whatever. But we'll move on to the next team. I don't know who wants to go. You know what I'm saying?
I can go.
There you go.
Get
There
me
you
out the
go.
way.
Let's go, Jay.
All right, let's do it. All right, so the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm gonna say the good. Right now, I think we had a really good draft.
Mm,
If you see, a lot of our players are young players. Caden Carson, I believe he came from Wake Forest. I'm looking it up
yeah,
right now. He's
yeah. He
been
came from
nice
Wake.
fit. Wake Forest, nice. I mean, they call him the seatbelt, right? And I mean, he's playing to his name. And here's the thing, people say I hated on the pick. I did not hate on the pick. I was just like, let's get a defensive tackle early, or let's get one of these running backs kind of early, because we're gonna need help in those particular positions, right? But you can never have too many corners. Kalen Carson's he nice. I mean, that footwork, those hit. I mean, the kid is. I mean, he's a physical corner. His anticipation for the ball is very good, and how he can mirror the players already at a young age is really good.
Mhm.
So Trevin Diggs had it. He was up, taken off the PUP. He actually had practices the last 2 days, and I think this was one of his practices day where he was kind of like full go, and he looked good. I'm not even hyping him. Like he looked smooth. He looked good. Obviously, it's still his practice, no real live action, but coming from the injury that he had, and to be off the list already, because Cowboys are notorious to those guys lingers injuries to week 3, week 4, week 5, and then you're wondering what's going on. But this is a good sign that the Cowboys have Trevin Diggs on the field right now, and he's looking very smooth.
Mhm.
So we're happy in Cowboys land. Obviously, you still want to take it slow, but to see him on the field already, that's given us a lot of pleasure, because you're looking at Carson, who's your young guy, Deron Bland. You saw what he did last year, breaking NFL records for interceptions, return for touchdowns. And then, you'll see you got guys, Eric Scott, who you had last year. So I think our secondary, you look at um, Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker, You got some guys. You still got Marquise Bell. We got Juanye Bell. I mean, not Wanye Thomas. I'm sorry. And I feel like he's going to have a breakout season. So I think the secondary is very good. And obviously, the linebacker position was a sore spot. Everybody was pointing out the linebacker position was a bad spot, and we saw it. You know how Marquise Bell playing linebacker, and that's what got exposed, kind of maybe in this Packers uh, playoff. But I think it's a strength now. Now you have more veterans. You have Eric Hendricks on the team. You got Damian Wilson, who's back with the squad. He used to play with the Chiefs. He played with the Cowboys as well. Um, you got the kid Willie Harvey. He can play from the UFL, but hey, you never know. He was one of the top players in that league. He has some potential. You have Maris Lufel. I don't know if I said that name right from Notre Dame. I like what he's bringing to the table, and you got Demarion Overshown, who I think after that year we thought he was going to be an animal last year until the injury. He's come right back and hasn't missed a beat. He's got bigger, he's got stronger, he's faster, and he's a leader. And I think that's what we're excited about. He is a leader on the defense. Damone Clark is still coming in year three. I think he steps up because of the competition in the backfield now. I mean, the linebacker position, I'm sorry. So I think that's good. Um, and I look at the offensive line. That was a sore spot last year. A lot of old people felt like on the offensive line got rejuvenated when you got Tyler Guyton. Honestly, I think he's going to be special. Um, was hyped about it. We went to the Senior
I
Bowl.
don't know about special.
Yeah,
I
special
think he
Joe, the
is.
I
special.
don't know
I think
about
he. I think
special.
he. I think he could be special because number one, he's 6'7". He's 300 pounds. You don't see that often.
Is he playing right
He
tackle, James?
he's playing left tackle.
Left tackle? Okay.
And I mean, he's looked very good in practice. Obviously, his practice. He's went against Michael Parsons, and I mean, he's held his own. Obviously, we know there's going to be bumps in the road. I'm not hyping it like he's not going to. I've already said that he's going to have a lot of bumps in the road, play more right tackle and left tackle. But when you see the traits in him, when he's got the long arms, he's got the hands, he's got the footwork, he's the prototypal size. He played tight end. He's very athletic. Played tight end most of his high school career and played it in college before he switched over to offensive tackle because the athletic ability is hella there. And I think he's going to be a player. And you already got Tyler Smith, who's an All Pro, and I think he will stay consistently an All Pro at left guard. Center position, you wonder. Brock Hoffman is undrafted, but you got Cooper Beebe. We'll see if he flexes between right guard and center. But you're excited about if he is able to grasp that center. That's a guy who's 6'3", 325 pounds. And then you got your guy Zach Martin. You got Terrence Steele. Then you're feeling good about it. You know what I mean? So I think that's a lot of good. Dak Prescott is coming back again. That might be some bad as far as them contracts because CeeDee Lamb is not there. Um, Dak Prescott, he's there, but that contract's not there. So that's definitely bad. We don't like that. The ugly,
That might be ugly. Shoot, that
that's
might
what I'm
be a little
saying.
ugly.
The ugly could be one of these guys don't get signed. Um, you know, I don't know about Dak. I think CD is going to get signed before the season starts. But honestly, I don't know if Dak's getting signed. And I've already predicted that numerous times. So we'll see about that. So that might be some ugly.
So first of all, shout out to the chat, by the way. The chat's holding it down. They're saying you're gassing up
Yeah.
the Cowboys pretty hard, by the way. In the chat.
I said what?
They're saying you're gassing up the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
gassing up the Cowboys at
And it's
all. I'm just-
Cowboys
Even
fan.
Cowboy fans are saying that.
Yeah, it's
I'm not
Cowboys
gassing.
fans.
I'm not gassing up Dallas at all. I'm just telling the truth.
All right,
You're
that's
supposed
step
to be
one.
pessimist.
Yeah, pessimist. Then step two. My
You
boy
said
Tommy
good.
T. Huh?
Go ahead.
No, my boy Tommy T in the chat. My one Commanders fan, hold me down. I appreciate you, Tommy. Tommy said, how do y'all feel about having your best two coordinators leaving with Dan Quinn and Joe Witt now over here in DC? They performed well. You know, your quarterbacks. Deron Bland, do you think he's a top talent, or do you think he was a good scheme-dependent player? And how's that with Joe Witt and Dan Quinn gone? Now, how do you feel about that?
I don't know if he. Let's say I think he's a good player.
Okay.
I think he's more of a slot guy, in my opinion. They have
Okay.
him more on the outside. That's why I really want Carson to really, if you really see Carson, he's an outside corner. He's
Yeah.
a boundary guy, and I really like him to take hold of the position, but they're not going to do that. They're going to play Bland because he had the interceptions. He did
Yeah.
what he did last year. But in my opinion, I feel like he's better in the slot. I feel like I've said this time and time again. People get mad at all they want to, but I said it's Bland when he went up against the top guys, he got exposed, and pretty handedly. You know, he struggled, and I feel like if you can get one like a Carson can really step up and maybe as a rookie take a hold, and you can slide that Bland, and I think he's just so devastating in the slot because he got 5 interceptions in the slot. So, but as far as the coordinators, I'm gonna be honest with you. I done already told you about this, man, George. Ain't nobody tripping off no Dan Quinn. Now, I think Joe Witt, that's gonna be a loss. I like Joe Witt. I think he brings a lot to the table. He has experience. I think players gonna really play for good for him, and I think he has a good scheme. Ain't nobody tripping on Dan Quinn, dog. I'm gonna keep it real. And I'm not hating on him because he's gone, because I always go back to a video me and my dog boss Cowboys did before Dan Quinn came to the Dallas Cowboys, and we said he's soft. And we said that Dallas Cowboys only got him because he was with the Seattle Seahawks Legion of Boom. We know we said that he good early, but he might be he's soft. So we'll see. So if you look at the defense, a lot of turnovers. I ain't bashing them. A lot of turnovers. Created a lot of turnovers. A lot of sacks. But we'll see. Dan Quinn early, great. Dan Quinn late, no. So we ain't tripping on Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I you guys do have some good. I mean, I do like Kalen Carson a lot. The Tyler Guyton, he gonna be interesting because I do remember watching him with you at the Senior Bowl. I remember being like, that boy big, but he a little awkward. He's strong. He is very strong, but he was a little awkward. Obviously,
but he got one of the best offensive
line
guys out there.
That could definitely be worked on.
I thought he's a right tackle. I thought that was his thing coming out of college.
I thought so too. Yeah.
But see, the only reason why he played right tackle because his quarterback was left-handed. So that's why he didn't play the left side. He was very eager to play. You know, I had my because I already had my reservations from day one, right? But when I actually went out there and just watched, I didn't go out there. I'm sorry. When I actually got to be able to see him, that ability was already there, but you're like, man, he's gonna be green. He's gonna take some lumps, and I think he will because he's not running with the first team right now. They got Chuma Undoga, who's running with the first team, and I'm just like, that bothers me because I feel like you draft this guy in the first round, just play this dude. Like you did it with Tyler Smith, just let the dude take his lumps. You know what I mean? Because Chuma, you've been there. And you better just be the swing. Just throw these young guys in here. If you got this offensive line, and they got it. They show you a little bit. That's why I'm saying this preseason is going to be very interesting because I hope he gets a lot of reps and they can really show because it's going to be, there's not a lot of preseason games now, and it's boom. The cuts are one cut, so it's real compressed. So you got to really make your time in these preseason games work. So it's going to be interesting to see. Oh, and another. Like I said, our defensive tackle position. Mozzie, there's been a lot of good and bad talk. I don't know. We'll see. We're light in the defensive front. Rogers from Auburn, a 7th round draft pick. They talking about him playing. I mean, they're light. I feel like they talking about getting somebody with the cuts. That's not good to me. A receiver, CeeDee Lamb is not there. Obviously, who you wonder who's really going to take a second. Brandon Cooks is there, but he's okay. Jalen Brooks, Jalen Tolbert been having good camps, but are they going to wrestle hold of that? Our running back position, that's a bad. Let's keep it real. I'm not happy about the running back position at all. I'm not excited about no Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not excited about Malik Davis, and I'm not excited about. Kind of like Rico Dowdell. I like kind of Rico Dowdell.
That was pretty good.
I don't know about Deuce Vaughn. I don't know how they're really going to use him. So that doesn't excite me yet because I don't know how they're going to use him. Royce Freeman just had a groin injury. He's okay, but that running back position doesn't excite me, and it's more power. And if that offensive line doesn't gel early and your running backs are not doing anything, then we're throwing the ball all day. And I don't like that.
Yeah, I want to ask you and shout out to everybody in the chat. We got 270 plus people in the chat. So be sure to hit that like, subscribe, share, wherever you are. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate y'all here. I want to ask you because I've seen this everywhere, and I feel like you're probably one of the only people that'll be honest with this question. Mm-hmm. Is this a lame duck season for the Cowboys? Is that what it feels like? Because we saw the pictures with nobody at the trainer. Like, what is the real feel? We can all get up here and, beat our chest and say we the best team, but how does the team? How do y'all really feel in your opinion? In your opinion, how do you really feel about this team this year? Do you feel like they're putting all their eggs in this year, or are they just trying to get it over with?
I don't really know. Um, I feel like it's a lame duck season in my opinion. I've been said it from A1 day one, so I'm not gonna back off of it because there's nothing
Yeah,
that's really deterring how I feel about that. Because just your owner says he loves Mike McCarthy, says all these great things about him, but you don't extend them. That's double talking to me. You know what I'm saying? And why you saying all these great things about your coach? He is. Yes, they haven't done great in the playoffs. We understand it. They did win a playoff game against the Bucks, and very sound. That Niners game, it was very competitive. We saw what happened. Very depressing. That Cowboys last year was terrible. And then the Niners game in 2021 where you felt like were they prepared. So those are stains on Mike McCarthy's what you say resume. But you did win 3 straight 12-win seasons. That's hard to do in the NFL. I don't care what you say. For any team, win 3 straight 12-win seasons. That hasn't happened since the '90s in Dallas. So I feel like if you gave Garrett the benefit of the doubt, and he wasn't having winning seasons every year, I think you should give Mike McCarthy the benefit of the doubt too. Maybe extend him a couple of years. There is no salary cap with coaches. You can do it, but you're putting that. We'll see. Backs against the wall. Make it happen. I don't kind of like that, but you say all these great things about him. And then, with Dak, I just, I just don't like. It's a distraction. You keep talking about it every single day, even with CD. It's just a distraction. I feel like, in my opinion, of my team, Dallas hasn't shown me they've rose from the occasion when you had really good teams like 21, 22, and 23. I thought you could have did that. So it's just hard for me to believe with all this controversy going on with your star players still out, one unknown, future. Michael Parsons coming up. There's a lot of just a sore spot in Cowboys land, I believe. A lot of people just aren't believing what these guys are saying in the front office. And it's going the back and forth. It's just a distraction, and it's annoying. I feel like the Cowboys fans, so that's why I feel like it's an unknown season. Talent is going to get you, in my opinion, like 9, 10 wins because you got enough talent on the team. But same thing is going to rise in the playoffs. Nobody really cares about that from my perspective in Cowboys land about throwing 500 yards or blowing out teams. I think Dallas fans are past that now. We done already seen you can do that. You got to win these damn playoffs, and I think that's all that
yeah.
counts. And I think that's what the pressure is right now because ain't nobody thinking about this regular season. I mean, I know you have to play regular season games and you have to win these games to get to the playoffs. So let's not look past that because it's hard to win in the NFL, right? But ain't no excuses. I ain't hearing them. So I
That's a
feel
tough
like it's a
place.
lame duck season.
It's a tough place to be, James. Man,
It
coming from
is.
a Commanders fan, if the team if the fans are already down, you guys have to start off strong. If you could start losing the first couple games, it's gonna get real ugly there in Dallas. So, for your sake, hopefully they start off strong.
Yeah, for
We'll
our
see.
sake, I hope they lose every single
I mean,
game.
we'll see. Like I said, Dallas has the talent, but we'll see. Mike McCarthy is a year or two with him and Dak, and they've been explosive together. The guy Steve Lamb's not in camp yet. He's not signed yet. So, like I said, that's just a distraction in its own. And in my opinion, it's just when I see guys holding out, and he has every right to, but it just feels like when guys are holding out that long, then they come into camp, it just don't seem like it's a good year after that. It just always seems like there's something happens, and just from what I've seen, not all the time, but just seems like it brings things down. I just don't like the distraction that's going on right now, and I feel like it's going to affect the team.
Facts.
Mm.
Yep, yeah. I want to ask this question because Linda always showing love. Linda always in the
Oh, what's
chat.
up,
So
Linda?
she wanted to
Mad
ask you a
respect, Linda.
question. She wanted to know, BGJ, who is the player from last year's rookie class that you're looking forward to stepping up this year? So not this rookie class, last year's. So sophomores. Who are you looking to step up?
Oh, sophomores. I gotta go back and look at that rookie class because they for real. I gotta go back. I gotta even go back and look at that rookie class. Our number
Let me
one
see.
draft pick. I forgot all these guys. My just she hit me with the blank, right?
Yeah, she came at you, bro.
Okay, so
I don't think I could
okay,
tell
we
you
got
my Eagles.
Mozzie. Um, I don't know. Luke Schoonmaker, um,
Overshawn.
Fehoko, I think Overshown. I think. Thank you, because my mind went blank. But I think Overshown is the guy to me. He's the one that I think we're most excited about. The other guys, Ozzy, I'm just leave him alone. I don't even want to talk about him. Schoonmaker, I don't even want to talk about them guys. But Demario and Overshown, I think he's the guy because to me, he's the one guy that actually not saying he does nobody else brings it, but man, just his he has the ability and the attitude. Like the dude that's the emotional leader, the dude that's gonna come off the field and be like, "Hey man, I ain't standing for this. We got to get together." Like I feel like we've been wanting that guy. We've been wanting somebody on the sidelines to be that guy. I know Dak does it, but we've been wanting that guy. I don't know who on the defense really does that, you know. And I think he is the guy. He
I
has the
like that we're
talent.
seeing come out of college. Did he get hurt? What happened to him? I wasn't keeping up with
He
him. He
tore
got
his
hurt.
knee up the
Okay.
first preseason
ACL.
game, I believe. I don't know. I think it was his knee.
Okay.
Um, in the Seahawks game
Gotcha.
because he had a really good game his first preseason game, and that's what we were all excited. He had like 7 tackles. He was all over the field, hitting guys in the backfield. And he was playing really good early in that Seahawks game, all over the field early. Then he hurt his knee. But the good thing about it was he hurt it really early in the preseason, not
Hmm.
late in the season. So that's why you see him on the field now, being able to play, no restrictions, being able to go hard. And I feel like we're excited about him because if he could really show what he was showing last year, that's huge in the linebacker room because, like I said, the linebacker core was a weakness last year, and I think it definitely can be a strength this year.
Now, my last question I got for the Cowboys is really taking away like your fandom of it. I want to ask you, like, as far as like if you were running this organization,
Mhm.
what is the best case scenario with Dak? Because I mean, at the end of the day, even if you figure something out, you sign him for 3 years, you still have to figure out who's going to be the future of that franchise. Like, is it, in your opinion, if you were running this franchise, better to just cut ties now? Or is it, in your opinion, better to give him that 2-3 years extension and get somebody under his wing?
Well, first of all, if I was running a franchise, it'd be different. Dak would love me. We would get along. We would make it happen, and there wouldn't be these issues. You get what I'm saying? I wouldn't be playing these
Facts.
games with him, so there would never be these problems. We would have a great relationship, open communication. When I heard Pat Mahomes saying, "You know what?" When they say, "Hey, you one of the lowest paid, you like out of the top 10 now in your money," he like, I don't trip. My we have a great communication with my front office. They're always talking to me. I don't have to worry about anything. I know I'm gonna get taken care of. I know it's gonna be right. And I feel like Dallas doesn't have that. I don't feel like the great lines of communication. I feel like that's why Dak went and got the agent that he did because he didn't feel comfortable. And that's why he went out and got this guy. And you know what? Hardball is gonna be made because I feel like there's a lack of trust right there. And I feel like that's the problem. There's a lack of trust with the players in the front office. The front office is always saying one thing, and then they double talk. I don't appreciate. I look at these other franchises, and maybe I could be wrong. I see these franchises; they sign their guys. I don't feel like they in the media saying double talk about their players. They just sign them. You just wake
Yeah.
up and you look on Twitter and they're signed. You know, if they're held, this may be a holdout. 3 days later, signed. You know what I'm saying? That's what I see. What I see with Dallas, I see them asking the front office these same questions. And then, your front office double talking like, oh, we love and appreciate Dak. But you know what? If I can't get everything I want, I haven't been able to get everything I wanted. Sometimes that's a good thing. Like why are you saying those type of things if that's your guy? Like, why are you putting the doubt in the minds of the people, of the media, the fans to give people something to talk about? To me, that's disrespectful because you want to just always talk and keep somebody talking about Dallas in the media. So you just saying that just to get Dallas, keeping Dallas in the media and disrespecting your quarterback. How does your quarterback feel when you say that and he's sitting right there listening to that? You get what I'm saying? So
Facts.
that's the problem. That's the problem. And so, you know, that's the things that stop the organization from being winners. You're gonna win games because you got talent, but being the next step in the playoffs and where you wonder why these motherfuckers just be losing like that. These type of things. I'm being serious though, bro, because we all in Cowboys land try to put a finger on why the hell they keep losing these games. Because you got the talent, you got the coaching, can beat these teams. You know you can. Why you keep losing? It's something. And when that something go on, it stops you from taking the next step. And I don't care what nobody tells me.
That's facts. That's facts. All right. Do you have any more questions, George? You got any questions for Cowboys Nation? All right.
good.
So I think it's that time, boys. Left hands up. Who are we?
The Commanders. All right, let's get into it. All right, so
y'all got more rap songs than the law allows.
They're rough
right
too.
now.
I'm not gonna lie.
Y'all got more rap songs.
I kept them up. More was rough, man. It's all good.
Good Lord.
All right, so what's up, y'all? So Joe and James asked me to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly going into training camp. Guys, I live in DC. I go to training camp. I'm a season ticket holder, so I got a lot of info. So feel free to ask me any questions you want. First of all, the good, man. Jaden Daniels, like our season relies on Jaden Daniels, and he's holding it down. Like, I'll be honest with you, I'm a big draft guy. I followed the draft pretty heavy. I initially wanted Drake May. Initially, when I first started, I saw the whole Justin Herbert traits, the big body, the big arm. But then as I started to study film more, Jaden Daniels started to pop out on film. He really was the most dynamic player in football last year. He really was. He was explosive. He can run. He can do all that. Coming into training camp, I was worried. I was like, who is this guy? What's the vibe of him? What's he going to be like? And he's been awesome. Like, they actually have changed the hour. So they give him a key card where he can come in before, like the gates open at 8, closes at 5. He stays before and after studying film, getting ready, studying the playbook. He gets there at 5:45 every day with Luke McCaffrey and throws the ball in the bubble before training camp starts just to get some reps in. So, like, the work ethic is there, and I'm always rooting for people like that. So Jaden Daniels coming in looking good. Dan Quinn talked about how he has the curiosity of a rookie but the poise of a vet, right? He's coming in, he's asking questions, he's being humble, but at the same time, he's not necessarily like, it's not overwhelming to him. He's calm. He's like kind of relaxing the situation over here. So Jaden Daniels has been everything we wanted so far in DC. My only concern is I hope, we saw those film, for all of us who grind the film, we saw those hits that he took when he was running, in the open field. I am worried about that. I hope he doesn't get hit in the open field. And we have PTSD here in DC with RG3, if you remember him. So I'm afraid that's going to happen. But at the same time, man, it's like, I think Jaden's a better passer coming out of college than RG3 ever was. And I think it's going to be pretty solid. So Daniels is looking good. So I'm happy with that. Our rookie class is looking good. Our rookie class is dope, man. Once I get to the bad and the ugly was Ron Rivera, and we talked about this before. Ron Rivera is like an emotional coach. He's a good person, but like X's and O's, GM, building a team, he was awful with that. And we're seeing all those different players fall. Like, we only have 6 of Ron Rivera's draft picks still on the team. All of them are like, we're cutting them and releasing them and getting rid of them because they aren't any good. So our draft class, dude, Johnny Newton, we got him in 36. For those of you that don't follow the draft, Johnny Newton was a top 15.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
He's one of the best defensive tackles in the draft.
Yeah.
We got him at 36, and the best part about it is we already have Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, so we can rotate him in and kind of work him in and even relieve those guys. So our D-line is looking good.
Quickly, I hate to cut you off, but that kind of goes in perfectly with somebody that was asking anyways, and Robert asked, George, the BT room, would you say anyone is getting traded since you picked up that youngster out of Illinois? I just think it's perfect timing.
That's great timing.
Double back.
Great question, Robert. I appreciate that, bro. That's also a good question. So, no, I don't think so. So Deron Payne, so there's 2 people on the team that can't get traded because of their like dead cap. That's Deron Payne and Terry McLaurin. If you cut them, it's a $30 million hit to cut them. So you can't cut Deron Payne or trade them. Well, I guess you can trade him, but they're not going to trade. He's at 25. He's like a prime defensive tackle. Why? If anything, Jonathan Allen, he's coming up on 30 years old. He has no guaranteed money left, but I think they like him because John Allen's our captain. He's like the voice in the locker room. He's the one that speaks up. So I think they like Johnny Newton because they can basically relieve John Allen and relieve Deron Payne, let Johnny Newton kind of coming off the injury slow. and let's say Johnny Newton blows up, they let John Allen walk next year or the year
Oh, we
afterwards.
want John Allen.
Yeah.
Let us get.
That's all. That's why they asking.
I want Jonathan Allen. I've been screaming for him when he went on that rant. Not to cut you off, George. When he went on that rant last year, I said I want him.
So it's funny. You're right. People here in DC were hating on John Allen because of
I
that
want him.
rant. Because he was like, I want to get traded. He was mad. He was like, it was an ugly year last year. That's what I'm telling you, James. Like, I hope. I mean, parts of me wants it to happen to y'all, but at the same time, I don't, because I like you. I want it to happen to y'all. Like, it was bad last year. It was like people were pointing fingers.
He a dog, though.
It was rough. He is a dog. He's a dog for sure. So that's why he's not going anywhere. My favorite draft pick, and I want you guys to write this down and keep this in mind, is Mike Sanders still. Mike Sanders still from Michigan. Dope, man. He's going to be our starting nickel. He's small. He's a starting nickel, but he was the Michigan's defensive captain, Michigan national champion, one of the best defensive one of the best teams in college football. He actually stuck through. Like, the reason why people in Michigan love him is he was on that 2020 COVID team, and Michigan was 2-4. He stuck through that and basically watched the team turn around to 11-0, win the national championship. I love Mikey Sanders still. He played wide receiver before he became a defensive back. He's dope. And then we got Ben Sinnott, Kansas State tight end. Brendan Coleman is a guard tackle. Luke McCaffrey, and it's an early third-round pick. So legit, like, I really do try to say, you guys know this, try to stay humble with it. I really do think 4 or 5 of these picks could actually be starting next year. Like Jaden Daniels for sure, Johnny Newton heavy time, Mike Sanders still starting nickelback, and then the kicker will be Brendan Coleman. Like, you guys might have saw him at the Senior Bowl. Like, on my show, I had Jim Nagy, the Senior Bowl coordinator, on my show. We asked about him. He liked him at guard. He's like, Brendan Coleman's a good guard, but we're trying him at tackle. He might be our starting left tackle. And if we get our starting left tackle in the 3rd round, and he's actually legit, that's going to be that's a home run draft class right there. Yeah. So we're happy. Like, so there's a lot of optimism with our draft class there. The bad, I guess, is we are, like, I think someone said it in the chat, the offensive line, we are concerned about it. We got to see you better stay humble. That's so funny in the chat. The offensive line.
You know they're giving it to you.
I love it. It's all good. It can bring it on. It's all good. The offensive line, I'm curious about, because our offensive line was bad. Like, Sam Howell had 61 sacks last year. I think it was like number 2 in the entire NFL behind Daniel Jones. But, that was Eric Bieniemy having a bad offensive scheme. It was just ugly last year. So I am worried about the offensive line. Thursday, Washington has a joint training camp with the Jets. So that'll be kind of cool to see, because they have a great defensive line in New York, and I want to hear about that in practice. So the offensive line I'm kind of worried about, but, maybe our cornerbacks I'm a little bit worried about too. We can talk about that in a little bit. So that's kind of the bad, but it's generally been positive, honestly, here in DC. And the ugly is, where do our first-round picks fall, right? 2 years ago, I don't know if you guys remember him, Jamin Davis. He's a first-round pick. Ron Rivera selected him. Ron Rivera's type was military son, military families and nice person or whatever. He always overdrafted people. So Jamin Davis, we don't have a spot for him right now. He was our starting middle linebacker, but now we got Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner's looking pretty damn good over here. Frankie Louvu, you guys got to keep on. You guys know who he is.
Yeah.
Frankie Louvu's a dog.
Carolina.
Yeah, we wanted him in Philly.
Yeah, so Frankie Louvu is a dog. So we got Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu playing linebacker. What are they going to do with Jamin Davis? They're trying him at defensive end. They're trying him at edge. Like, they're trying as a blitzer. Like, when he first came over, we're going to try to implement him like Micah Parsons. We don't run the line and blitz him, but I think Louvu is taking that position here. So I guess the bad is, where did the first round picks land? Jamin Davis, where's he going to play? They're trying him at edge, but he might be a cut. That's how crazy it is over in DC. Forbes, I don't know if you guys remember him from Mississippi State. He got cooked by A.J. Brown. You guys all know that in Philadelphia. Like, that's like a PTSD scar here in DC. Yeah, he cried, pissed off. He's little. He's like 100. He was like 165 coming out of college, tiny. I wanted Christian Gonzalez. So Christian Gonzalez was on the board. Yeah. They took Manuel Forbes. We're worried about him. We'll see how he plans out. He's been doing okay in camp. And then last one. And then finally, Jahan Dotson. You and I talked about him, Joe. Penn State guy. I love Jahan Dotson. Great route runner. He's a little bit small. He had an awesome rookie year. He had 7 touchdowns. I think he led the rookies in touchdown receptions his first year. But guys, EB was a mess. Eric Bieniemy was awful. He basically ruined Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson's, routes. And basically, Jahan Dotson had a horrible year. The question is this: Jaden Daniels, does he have the talent around him? Right? You have Zach Ertz, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Luke McCaffrey, Brian Robinson, Eckler. I see that in the chat. So we're going to kind of see how those players surround Jaden Daniels, but we'll see how it goes down.
You guys have a lot of running backs. I have a lot of running backs.
We do have a lot of running backs. Yeah, so questions from the chat or questions from you guys, whatever y'all want to do.
I want to get a couple of questions in chat, but Lonely B asked, how does Eckler look? Does he look like the Eckler of last year or 2 years ago?
So, granted, there's only been 9 practices, like 5 of them have been padded here in DC. People are liking him. There are people saying that he's kind of like built different than what we had here in DC because we have like plotting backs. Like, I don't know if you guys even follow Brian Robinson. I like Brian Robinson. I think he's kind of like do you guys remember Rashad Penny and like Chris Carson, like those Seattle running backs? He's those guys where they fall forward, they get 4 yards, like they're going to get like 8 touchdowns. That's Brian Robinson to me. I like him as a big back. Eckler is one of the better receiving backs we've had in a long time. So he's looking pretty good in the open field. They love his leadership. Like the talk here in DC is Eckler, Ertz, and Bobby Wagner are taking on the younger people on the team and kind of coaching them up. So Eckler's getting props there. The funny thing, kind of something to keep an eye on, is they're doing those new kickoff rules where they're kind of like you catch the ball to 35. They're talking about putting Eckler back there for our kickoff because basically, like, I don't know if you guys are catching it yet, but like it's basically a fancy run play. Like those new kickoffs, and you don't need a running back that dances anymore. You need someone that's like 1 and up. And they're saying Eckler might be like our kickoff returner, so like that might be an option there. So we don't follow anything. Well, yeah, that's why you're watching the show, though, Trey. It's all good, man. So we got that. But yeah, so Eckler is basically he's looking all right there.
So to kind of build off of that question, Robert Ruiz asked, who's really the running back 1 in Washington? He asked Eckler or Robinson. Obviously, if there's somebody else, who would you say is the running back 1?
Robinson. So like I do a lot of fantasy on my show. If you guys ever want to watch like fantasy podcasts and stuff, like that's always a big debate in fantasy world. Like, should I take Robinson? Should I take Eckler? I think that the running back touches will be like 70-30 Robinson to Eckler. I think Robinson's going to be our dog. Like he might like scratch like 1,000 yards rushing. Eckler's going to be more of like a receiving back. He's going to be more of like our scat back, more of our screen back and stuff like that. So I think Eckler's going to be that.
I'm excited to see this team. I do have a couple questions because I personally, and it's mainly about your young players. Yeah. Because you did bring up Emmanuel Forbes.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about Ben Sinnott. Is there a path? Because I felt like he was one of the better tight ends in this draft. Like I'm talking like top 3, maybe top 5, depending on who you talk to. But I thought he was one of those guys at tight end. Is there a path for him? Because you do have old Zach Ertz, don't you guys now? But what is there a path for Ben Sinnott to see the field? Because I do think he's really good.
First of all, I love being on an NFC East podcast because we all recycle players. It's so funny talking about Dan Quinn, Zach Ertz, and all that stuff. So it's Dorrance Armstrong and all that kind of stuff. So it's funny to talk about that. I want to ask you about that in a moment, James. We're going to come back to that. Sinnott, I love Sinnott. Like Sinnott, I don't know if you all remember Chris Cooley here in DC. He's kind of that type of tight end. They say that Sinnott is like a H-back, what's his name like for 49ers? Juice Checker, I believe, is the fullback. Like that. Yeah, Juice Check. So basically, that's how they view him. Like Sinnott is going to be like I thought he was going to be like a legit like slot tight end, more of like an inline tight end. That's what I thought the vision was going to be. But from what I'm catching, from what I'm seeing at training camp, he's more of like a blocking back right now. Like he's kind of like in the backfield as a fullback. He's like a power. He has some pop at tight end, inline tight end block in there. I think Ertz will be more of our receiving tight end. But I can see Sinnott slowly getting better as time goes on. Like Sinnott, I think Sinnott's going to be a contributor. I agree with you, John. I think he's going to be a legit player. He's a kind of Swiss Army knife type of guy. We also have Cole Turner. We'll see if he actually pans out. But Cole Turner was 6'7", tight end out of Nevada. I don't know if you guys remember Carson Strong. He was a quarterback that was coming out of the draft.
Cole Turner.
He came to Philly.
You're right. So they were together in college, and then basically Cole Turner's like, if anything, he might be like our tight end 4. Because what I'm catching is Kingsbury might have like a 12 personnel, like 2 tight ends often. So I think it might be Jake Bates at blocking tight end, Zach Ertz at wide receiving tight end, maybe Cole Turner being like a slot. So we'll see. But I like seeing it though, for real.
And the last big question I have is because you look at what you guys did with RG3. It's kind of a two-part question.
Mhm.
You saw what happened with RG3. Obviously, a whole new front office, whole new coach. It's a whole different team. But how transparent has the Washington Commanders been with that, as far as we know what we did with him and we're not going to do that with Jaden Daniels? Or is it something that's kind of, slid under the rug, we're not going to talk about it? And two, how built for Jaden is this offense? Do you think this is Jaden's offense, whatever he's good at is what we're going to do? Or is it, this is what we do, and Jaden, you're going to have to kind of fall in?
So for one, in regard to like the whole RG3 Jaden Daniels connection, we got to remember this is the best part about it for us. They blew everything up, Joe. Legit, nobody, not even the owner or the general manager, and like nobody, not even the name is even in Washington anymore. They completely blew everything up. It's a completely brand new team. No one's there anymore. I think Daniels and RG3 are completely different people, to be honest with you. Like, people in DC, some people still love RG3. Some people think he's a cornball. Like, I don't know if you guys follow him on like Twitter or whatever. He's always like doing like TikTok dances, and he's always like all the attention's on him. Jaden Daniels like shy. He doesn't say anything. He's quiet. He kind of like more reserved. He actually he turns his social media off during the practices, so he's more reserved. And then on top of that, what they're doing in DC is they're not promoting Jaden Daniels. They're not promoting him as a savior. Like when RG3 was here, they were putting him on the tickets and, the front of the yearly yearbook and all that kind of stuff. They're not doing that with Daniels. They're doing Bobby Wagner and these other guys, hyping them up and not promoting him that way. So I think they're handling Jaden Daniels right. I think they're like, this is a 5-year thing, not like a 1-year thing. And I think Jaden Daniels, they're going to build the offense around him. Like, people kind of hate on Kingsbury. Like, people are like, he kind of like stalled out in Arizona, kind of made the team kind of dry over time. I don't know if you guys know this, but Kingsbury is he's a film, like he just grinds the film over and over again. He's like a weirdo in regard to that, right? He's just grinds it. I think Kingsbury's going to build an offense around Jaden Daniels, just like he did with Kyler Murray. And I think it's going to be a really cool offense. Like, I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be, get rid of the ball quick. Our offensive line isn't great. We have to find some nice hot routes for him. And Jaden Daniels already calling the line protection. People forget he's a 5-year college player. He has a lot of games under his belt. So he's smart. He has the work ethic, and he has sky's the limit athleticism, man. Like, I think it's all positive here in DC. We're happy with that.
Chat, do you have any questions, Brent? I can't talk. I'm over here reading his question and trying to say your name at the same time.
Go ahead.
If you have any questions, James, I don't want to cut you off. My bad.
No, I was just gonna say, y'all super positive over there. Just happy over there in Washington. Everybody.
I don't know about special.
Look,
I didn't say special. I'm happy.
Ain't no special. We ain't even talking no special over there. But I do want
something. You know what I'm saying? That's where we're at. Yeah.
I do want to ask about your coach Dan Quinn. We know he has the reputation of starting fast and fizzling, and he wasn't the first choice. Now we're hearing everybody in Washington land doing cartwheels about Dan Quinn, but we know Ben Johnson was the guy. He was the man that y'all really wanted, and nobody was talking about Dan Quinn. All of a sudden, they switched to him. Is this fake love? Is this fake hype about Dan Quinn? I want to know, since you're on here and people say, yeah, I know you're on here, James, because you don't tell the truth. So George's on here. I need to know the truth.
I will tell the truth. So I think all of us here in DC, we wanted Ben Johnson. Like, I think the fans wanted Ben Johnson number one. Mm-hmm. Who knows what the owners say? They're saying they wanted Dan Quinn number one, but we know how it really is. If you really wanted Dan Quinn number one, why are you flying over to Detroit to go talk to Ben Johnson type of thing? The one thing I will say, though, is it's a breath of fresh air, right? We had Ron Rivera. We had Jack Del Rio. They were like, hands off, jaded, not necessarily, great coaches. I think Dan Quinn, what the selling point here in DC is he puts together a hell of a staff, right? You can say that in Atlanta, Steve Sarkisian, they had Raheem Morris, I think they might even had Kyle Shanahan under him maybe for 1 year. They're all there, and it's like, okay, we have Joe Witt, you guys, whatever. We have Cliff Kingsbury, we have Anthony Lynn as our running backs coach, a former head coach from the Chargers. We have Brian Johnson from you guys. We have a whole bunch of – we have Daryl Tapp as our defensive lines coach. one thing I like, and I see it. I actually went to on last Thursday. I went to like a season ticket holder event where they did like it was actually really cool, guys. They actually like pulled up plays and the coaches like walking through it, and, like broke down the film for us. It was pretty cool. I see a lot of potential. I see the coaches being strong. So I think Cliff Kingsbury's gonna be a good coach, but he's there like hitting Jaden Daniels, throwing things at him. He's like hands on. He's not necessarily just an observer. He's right there with it. So we'll see.
Okay.
Now
okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
There was another question I gotta find. There we go. Drew wanted to ask, or he said, question! Exclamation point for George. I have Washington coming in second place at 10-7. He's an Eagles fan.
Wow, you tripping?
Yeah, behind the Eagles. How realistic do you think 10-7 is for Washington?
My answer is why not? You have no idea. Why not, right? The over under is 6.5 right now in Washington. That's what Vegas has over there. I'd smash the over on that, to be honest with you. Realistically, I'm thinking 7, 8, 9 wins is what I'm thinking. But dude, Ken Norton, the linebacker coach, you're right, Tommy. But dude, if Jaden Daniels is legit, why not? We saw CJ Stroud last year. We saw CJ Stroud go from a worse team to beating the first round and winning a playoff game.
Yeah.
Right? So we saw that. RG3 took a 2-win team to a 10-6 team. They won. They were basically rocking out too. It's all about Jaden Daniels and all about coaching. So I don't see it as like. That's where it's at, right? We're on the second place. Y'all get out of here. we all got our awards, right? We basically, for us, our coaches have to come together. The Cowboys, we're kind of seeing, do they like our coach? Do they like the quarterback? Do they like the wide receiver? We have no idea what's going to happen there. Sirianni, what's going to happen over there in Philadelphia? We'll see. I think the Eagles probably have the safest team, but we'll see what happens, man. You never know. We played y'all hard last year. We talked about it last time. We basically lost like the last minute in that second game. That was with Sam Howell, not Jaden Daniels. So we'll see what's up.
Let me ask you a question. Would you rather have a winning record in the NFC East or make the playoffs?
Oh, make the playoffs, man, for real, 100%.
So if you lost every NFC East game and made the playoffs, you'd be okay with it?
You got to get in the tournament, right? I think you got to get in the tournament. You never know what's going to happen in the playoffs. But same note, like I think the key, and this is me being nerdy and watching all the stats, you have to win 4 games in the division to make the playoffs. You have to. They have to be 4-2 at least. That would make the playoffs, in my opinion. But you never know. Dude, how good would it be if all 3 of our teams make the playoffs? I want it to be NFC Beast again. Why not? Who cares? It would be fun that way.
And it's always a different team.
But
it's always a different team.
We ain't really, like I said, for this first year, dog, we ain't feeling Dan Quinn, dog. So like this the first year, I'm gonna keep it real, George. Like for the first year, that's just me. I told you I don't like you, the Commanders. I love you, dog, but I don't like them at all. I don't like them.
My
Dan
question:
Quinn,
why don't you like Dan Quinn? He didn't do y'all dirty. What did he do y'all?
What?
What did he do? Did y'all do
that last game, dog? I'm not gonna blame him. Okay,
I remember we talked.
I'm not gonna just blame him.
Like week 17, he was like walking around, like dapping up the Commanders. You're saying that, right? He was like kind of
I mean,
okay.
I just felt like I don't know, cause see, I wasn't there, so there's so many stories. So I'm not going to put that on him. Like, but it just didn't. It looked nasty. It looked dirty. It looked nasty. It looked disgusting in that game.
Okay.
And yes, a player. It looked like, what's going on? Do y'all want to play? Like, shouldn't your coach be getting it, as energetic as he always is and got the hat behind the, and doing cartwheels and you quiet as hell, ain't said nothing and bye. So it just the way, the taste of it. And we know that he been wanting to be a head coach. Everybody know he probably got with Dallas, he wanted to get that job to be a head coach again. So that was the best opportunity for him to be a head coach. I ain't naive to that. So I feel like Dallas was his stepping stone for it. You know what I mean? But I never was hyped on Dan Quinn. Like I liked what he did. I'm not taking nothing away, but wasn't nobody hyped with Dan Quinn. I told you what we said. We thought he was soft when he came over here. So it wasn't like we was hyping Dan Quinn when he came over here. So now you kind of left the way you did. Now I really ain't feeling you, dog. So I'll say we're going to split just because I feel like you're going to have a better team. It is contingent on James Daniels. Now I just really want to beat your heads in. I don't want to give you 1-1 no more. I want to beat you 2-0.
I got to see when that game is. That's going to be I cannot wait. I usually don't
because it's
really
going to
care
be
too much
exciting.
about other teams.
What
That's
week
gonna be
we
exciting.
play y'all late again, right? I know we play.
Yeah, I think we do.
We play y'all. I know we play. I always
November
so
24th.
I've always wanted to go to AT&T Stadium. I haven't been there yet, but I think that's like December. So maybe I might even go this year. We'll see what's up with that. I don't know.
January. Y'all
I
don't
don't
play
know
them
when the
till
other game
January.
is. I have season tickets. I'll go to that first one. I don't know when it is.
Y'all play them January.
If y'all ever in
January
town,
5th.
let's go to a game. I'll be here.
We might
man. I'll
have
be
to
there.
do that.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
I'm
it.
down.
You know
Let's
what
do it.
I'm
I'm
saying?
in.
Let's
Might
do
have
it.
to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, how much are the tickets out there? They can't be. They must pay you to go to the games at this point.
It depends where you're at. Like my sister, I'm row 3. I'm actually y'all like,
Yeah.
for
Oh,
real.
snap.
Y'all will
George, he's
see.
there.
George
Y'all,
lives the life.
y'all will see me
Yeah.
on TV. If y'all watch the game, like I don't know if you know who the hog farmers are, the guy that dressed up in overalls.
Yeah.
I sit with them. I'll be on TV. Like watch the game, I'll be right there.
Oh, snap.
If y'all sit like upper level, like you get a $50. It will be cheap. It'll be cheap for a ticket up there. Maybe Cowboy Eagles games are more expensive, but yeah, come through. It'll be fun.
So I do have to say, we do a thing here on Best of Enemies. Now we know that you go to all the games, and we understand that. So we'll make accommodations for it, but we all show face after a loss.
Okay.
So we are going to expect that from you. Everybody in the
Absolutely.
comments seem to be this seemed to be your induction day because everybody's going at you. Like,
Yes, I
the
love it.
first
It's all
couple
good. I
times
love
they were
it. I
nice
love
to you.
it.
But yeah, so
love
you now best of enemy. So
I'm a
when Trey
command
goes
hoe
at
apparently.
you,
I saw that. So.
yeah, when Trey goes at you, he like inducts you. So that's
Yeah,
good.
Trey go hard. He don't play.
That's
He
so
just
funny.
like Drew.
Yeah.
He just like Drew. Yeah, Drew is my side. Trey is his side,
Yep.
and they just be going at
And
each other. So
eventually
now
we'll
they
get a
induct you too.
Commanders. We'll get a
I gotta get
Commanders
some more
person.
command. I gotta
Trust
build
me.
this up real quick.
That's what I'm
Exactly.
saying.
Keep building,
Trust me. Once the Commanders
Yeah.
find it, I will find one. I guarantee you, I'll find a Commanders
yeah,
talking
we will.
trash.
Yeah.
But
My
it's
boy
still
Tommy's
early.
holding down this whole chat. Thank you, Tommy. I
Yeah.
appreciate you, bro. Yeah.
Shout out to Tommy and tell you,
Yeah.
shout out to Tommy. Don't let these people bully you. All right, we got your back, bro. I'm a Commanders fan too, just because I hate Dallas that much. I want y'all to blow them out this year, and I just think it's gonna feel so good when both of your former coaches are having more successful years than you. That's gonna make my life so good. Oh my god, I'll be so happy. I'm almost.
And I'll be so
tearing up
happy to
right now.
see Kellen Moore go right over there and fail again.
We'll see. We'll see. Well,
And also Vic Fangio, this wizard of Warlock and the wizard of defense. You better get it. You know what I'm saying? Because
I
y'all
am worried about this defense.
y'all
I
got
ain't
a
gonna
lot
lie.
of questions, man. Yeah, you should be worried about it because the coaching is on the line. Because if y'all flop this year, woo, changes is happening. You talk about Dallas having changes, y'all having changes.
You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. But it might
Your
be
head
for the
coach
best.
may be gone.
It might be for the best. It might be for the best. I like Nick Sirianni right now. I'm not hating on Nick Sirianni.
You loved him.
This is what I'll say. I'll leave it here. Maybe this is a
Here we go.
conversation we need to have, but I'll leave it right here. The Eagles find themselves in positions where you don't have a head coach that runs at one thing. Like he's not a great offensive mind or a great defensive mind. So whenever you have a good offense or a good defense, you lose the person that runs that every time. That happens to us every time, except for when we were with Andy Reid, because Andy Reid had a hand in the offense. So it might be in the long run for the best for us to move on from Nick Sirianni and find somebody who runs something. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, this all might work out, and I'm going to delete this episode. So, you know what I'm saying? You never know. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. I think that's something we'll have to talk about.
I don't know if these teams. I'm gonna just say this before we get off here. I don't know. I'm like George. Sirianni, you're just not likable. And maybe he can play to that.
I like that.
And maybe he can play to that, but he could play to that if we all felt it was like Dan Campbell. You feel me? Like he being tough guy, like he being tough guy for real. You know what I'm saying? Like so there's some coaches out there like, okay, but Nick Sirianni, no. You feel me? And ain't nobody feeling that, and it's just that's like following him now. You get what I'm saying? I feel like that's following him, and now it's that fake tough guy stuff is turned people off. And now I wonder, do the players really feel him? You know what I'm saying? That's what I wonder too about the Eagles players. Like everybody can say everything. oh yeah, we love our coach, because a lot of people ain't just gonna do that in the public and start controversy. But you don't really know. You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
at the end of the day, yeah, when you scream, look at me, people are going to look at you. So he's done that on a multiple occasions. You're not wrong. He's done that multiple times. But I will say Philadelphia, I'm not originally from Philadelphia, you know what I'm saying? But I've been around enough of the people. I've been in Philadelphia enough that I could feel comfortable kind of saying this. I think that a lot of our personalities match, not necessarily his in particular, but the attitude of we're going to talk our junk because we're going to back it up. And sometimes if you don't, it makes you look like an idiot. But that is kind of what we do. That's kind of who we are. We're going to talk our junk no matter if we're winning by 50 or losing by 50. We're going to talk our talk, and that's what it's going to be. And that's where we're going to go from. But him being the coach, him being the head coach, it does obviously look different, because when you win, we're going to be happy with it. And we're going to be like, that's our coach. When you lose, we're going to be like, man, stop looking like an idiot. You know, you're going to either win or you're going to lose. You're really never going to please everybody, but you're not wrong. This is a big year for Nick Sirianni and the whole offense. I mean, Jalen Hurts, you can make an argument this is a huge year for him and moving forward. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I can't sit here and say you are yet. But wait till like week 3 or 4 when we undefeated. I'm just talking about talk. You know how that goes down. But speaking of that, I wanted to ask y'all before we do get off here, because Michael DeJean asked what's each of our record predictions. I don't want to give it. I want to ask y'all, has it changed? Because we did do it before. Is that something y'all want to revisit, or is it still too early?
I think it's too early, right? What do you think, Jay?
I think it's too early. I think I gave us 10 wins. I think it's just too early. Schedules, injuries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Chemistry.
Chemistry. You got to see all that at least early first couple games. Right before we haven't even saw preseason.
You do that before week 1 and get together.
Yeah, we got to see some we got to see some preseason games. Yeah, I said 10. I said 10 wins. That's why I feel like Joe over there tripping. You ain't winning
13-4.
You're not winning 13 games this year.
Yeah, winning 13 games.
You're not winning 13 games.
Yeah, I think 14.
No, like 11 maybe.
11 maybe.
11 maybe. 11 maybe. Yeah, around 11.
This is what you said when I made the prediction that the Eagles were going to go 14-3. Everybody was talking mad junk.
I wasn't tripping off that one, Joe. So don't do that.
No, you wasn't. But hey,
I was like, it could be. I said it. You know what I mean?
We're gonna see.
But what I say? What did I say this year though? Didn't I predict y'all?
Hey, that's all good though. We're gonna be all right. We're gonna be okay.
Look, George, didn't I predict him?
14 wins.
And we predicting right here. I know me and George is predicting again right now. Y'all ain't winning 13 games.
Hell no, they ain't winning 13
y'all
games.
Y'all are not winning 13 games, bro.
Haters, bro. Why they be
it's not hating, bro. Y'all are not a 13-win team, bro. Right
Hell
now.
no.
14. We might hit
14. Get out of here.
But at the end of the day,
hell no. No way.
At the end of the day, I appreciate everybody that is in this chat. It is an amazing feeling every time that we take we have lives too. So sometimes we have to take a couple days off or whatever. Y'all always come in here and just show so much love. We have 300 plus people in this chat for a good part of this live stream. So thank you so much. Shout out to all I don't want to be, disrespectful to y'all chats, but shout out to my chat, because I took a big hiatus, and I've seen a lot of people in the chat like, oh, you live again. That's what's up. You live again. Thank you so much. Y'all have no idea how good it makes me feel to know that people still just, show love and are there no matter what. It means the world to me. It really does. And shout out to Trey too, because I can't wait. Y'all make me.
I like Trey.
Trey go hard. That's my dog.
I
love it. It's like you know, you got certain people in the chat that just go hard for you. You ain't gotta say nothing. You just let them just go hard. And Trey cool as hell too. He just like talking trash. He like Drew. You feel me? I don't trip on Drew. He gonna go. I know he going hard. I'm getting ready for Drew because I know he's gonna be nonstop when we get in that chat.
So Trey's a Cowboys fan and Drew's an Eagles fan. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And then we have a random Texans fan that comes in here all the time.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah, we ain't. Don't mention.
Shout out to my guy. Shout out to my guy. Eastside, what up? But no, anyways,
Harold.
At the end of the day, man, we're gonna be on here for hours if we keep doing this. But no, we appreciate y'all. Thank you guys so much. This is always fun. We'll be back next week. Now that it's the season, we will have these every week. You know, I try to give you guys even more. We'll see what we can do. But if y'all got anything y'all want to say to these beautiful people before we get up out of here, I think.
No, appreciate y'all.
Just appreciate you. Make sure you keep rocking and get ready for this season. Now we got Big George in here, so it's gonna be a lot more fun now. Sorry, fun before, but now it's gonna be super fun.
Yes, sir. So yeah, I appreciate y'all. Love y'all so much. Be sure to be back here next week. We'll give y'all information on what we're doing. But other than that, y'all know what it is. I am Joe. That's my guy James. That's my guy George down there. And we are the best of enemies. Peace.
We're brothers. We're happy and we're singing and we're colored.